The temperance movement began in the 19th century as men began drinking heavily and abusing alcohol. Women were fed up by their husbands' drinking problems and the problems that alcohol was creating. Supporters of the temperance movement encouraged abstinence and urged prohibition of the consumption of all alcoholic beverages.
Men during the 19th century were abusing alcohol and treating their families with disrespect, and soon enough the women were ready to rebel. They were afraid of the abuse, disease, and poverty that occurred because of alcohol. The women blamed alcohol for society's problems and crimes. Women used moral suasion to address the problem. Women spread their anti-alcohol ideals and eventually influenced other people, especially churches, to feel the same way. Saloons were viewed as places of horror and alcohol as the enemy. These feelings were finally acted upon and resulted in the changing of laws and practices related to the consumption of alcohol.
One of the most influential groups in the United States was the Women's Christian Temperance Union. They began to use more angry tactics rather than moral solutions. This group was able to get many laws passed and was supported by churches and industrialists who faced poor worker productivity. They succeeded in granting government regulation, instruction on alcoholism in school, and energized the study of alcoholism.
Women wore white ribbons to show support for the temperance movement. The white symbolized purity, and this was a type of propaganda.
The 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution prohibited the manufacture, sale, transport, import, or export of alcoholic beverages. Advocates for the temperance movement were very happy with the outcome of this amendment. Because of this, the United States became known as the Dry Land.
Frances Willard, most known for heading the Women's Christian Temperance Union, surprised delegates when she said, "Socialism is a higher way. It enacts into everyday life, living the ethics of Christ's gospel. Nothing else will do."
Lucy Hayes was the first lady during the time of the temperance movement. She was known as Lemonade Lucy due to her support of the temperance movement. President Rutherford Hayes and her were the ones to ban alcohol at the time. Without Lucy's help, alcohol may have never been banned. Carrie Nation is remembered for her attacks on liquor establishments. She fell in love with Charles Goyd, but she left him because he turned out to be a heavy drinker and was unable to earn a steady living. She struck at her first saloon, using bricks and rocks, and eventually a hatchet to attack. She died alone in 1911, but her fight for temperance greatly impacted the movement and had a great influence on the ratification of the 18th Amendment 8 years later.
Mary Hatchett Hutt was one of the most powerful women in the nation promoting prohibition. She was superintendent of the Women's Christian Temperance Union's Department of Scientific Temperance Instruction, which gave her the power to pass laws requiring that abstinence and prohibition be printed in textbooks to teach children. She was able to veto such textbooks that stated that drinking in moderation didn't lead to alcohol abuse, and the fact that some doctors prescribe alcohol for certain circumstances.
Although many people tried hard to rid America of alcohol completely, there were still some ways around it. During Prohibition, there were bootleggers, moonshines, and speakeasies. Bootleggers would smuggle alcohol into America from other countries and sell it for a high price. There were also moonshine. Moonshine was alcohol made in bathtubs, and oftentimes it was harmful to the men that drank it, due to how gross the bathrooms were and the high content of ethanol. Speakeasies also existed. They were underground bars where men could drink.